That's not the end of our affair. And when we understand that, everything in the world, we're not stressed by what happens in the world. Because we understand a lot of things happening, it was all foretold. It was all foretold. And we understand there's a bigger scheme of things that transcends the world. God's justice isn't confined to the world. Our justice is confined to the world. Our retribution is confined to the world. Not God's justice, nor God's retribution. It transcends the world. It transcends the world. So when we know that, we can just relax. I don't have to get even now, because God's going to get even for me later. If we don't believe that, we're stressed out. And when we're stressed out, we become desperate. And when we become desperate, we can disregard the limits set by God. I need revenge now. I'm going to go shoot up a bunch of kids in a school because I need my revenge now. And I'm going to disregard the one of the ijma, the khilafat, the things that Muslims differ on theologically and legally. Volumes. We have muftis here. Volumes. Like, that doesn't do justice to it. There's so many books on khilafat. Ijma'at, things the Ummah agrees on, is like that big. Ijma' Imam Ibn Hazm. It's like that, slender volume. It's slender, it would be skinnier, but usually it's printed with some ta'liqat from Ibn Taymiyyah. So it gets, you can see it on the shelf. There are not many things the Ummah agrees on. And that's beautiful when you understand it. One thing the Ummah agrees on, Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam an qatl al-nisa'i was-sabyan. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam forbade the killing of women and children. Ijma' of the Ummah. Now people this I don't care, that gets in the way of my revenge. That gets in the way of me getting justice. Because they killed my women and our children. So we're going to kill their women and their children. So I don't care what the Prophet said. That's what they essentially say. I don't care what the Prophet said. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because I need my justice now. That's not how we look at the world in reality. It's not just here and now. Sometimes for the greater good, we don't even pursue justice. I'll leave you with this. My time's up. We have to represent the ability as a community to shift from the idea of social justice to social mercy. And I say that a lot of people represent and advocate social justice. Turn on the television, no justice, no peace. Right? Al Sharpton represents that ideal. Social justice. We need justice in the world. And that's good, that's noble. But when everyone is clamoring for justice, and literally there's not enough justice to go around, because some people can't afford justice. All these people being railroaded into Texas prisons. It's not just Texas. Killed on death row. How many of you are familiar with the Innocence Project? Right? What's the Innocence Project? Yeah, yalla.
They're taking people who have been accused and sentenced to death row and trying to prove their innocence.
On the basis of?
I don't know.
DNA evidence, right? Which at the time of their original trial wasn't admissible, or they didn't have the technological evidence, but they have the evidence from the trial. They have the body fluid samples, they have the blood samples, the hair samples. So the Innocence Project goes and takes those cases, examines the evidence. Over 100 people have been exonerated who would have been killed. Because why? They were just poor people. They couldn't afford justice. So when the prosecutor, we had a case in New Haven, Connecticut, where I'm from. Now I live in California. But that's another issue. But when I was in New Haven, Connecticut, a Yaley got killed. And he was like a 5th generation Yaley. Like his father went to Yale, his grandfather went to Yale, his great-great-grandfather went to Yale, his great-great-great-grandfather went to Yale, and this kid was killed. And they wanted someone to pay. So they went and got this, actually there's a kid, he converted in prison by the name of Melvin Jones. And they pinned the murder on Melvin Jones. And you know what the condemning evidence was? There was a witness who saw Melvin Jones fleeing the scene of the murder with a jacket. And he threw the jacket in a dumpster. The jacket didn't even fit. If the gloves don't fit, you must have quit, right? If the gloves don't fit you, that jacket didn't even fit. But Melvin Jones wasn't O.J. Simpson. So Melvin Jones couldn't afford Johnny Cochran and the Dream Team. So even though the jacket didn't fit, and you know who the star witness was? The star witness was a prostitute who was a paid police informant. But Melvin Jones didn't have Johnny Cochran and the Dream Team, so Melvin Jones went to jail, and Melvin's on death row in the state of Connecticut. So, which, it was the second murder he was accused of. Out on parole from the first case, he was a teenager, a gangbanger, 18 years old, shot someone. Didn't know what the heck he was doing, went to prison, did his time, got out, was going to community college, volunteering at various social service agencies, trying to live a productive life, and they needed someone to pin this murder on. Oh, this guy's a murderer. We're just pinning on him. He can't afford much justice. I say that to say there's a deficit. There's not enough justice to go around. When some people can afford the kind of justice that O.J. Simpson could afford, and some people, they can't even afford the public defender who has 20 or 30 other cases. And the public defender can't afford to look into the case and look at its particulars. So in a world where there's not enough justice to go around, someone's going to have to say, you know, let's just wait till the next world and let God sort it out for us. And as opposed to being obsessed with justice to such an extent that we have to take things into our own hand, you know, let's just wait. And let's just be a source of mercy in that we're not going to get all the justice we deserve. No one can limit how much mercy we can extend to others. It's a different way of looking at things. But as we say, this is from our tradition. This from our tradition. We mentioned in Jum'ah, Adam's younger son, he wasn't going to kill his older son, even if his older son was hell-bent on killing him. لَنْ بَسَطْتَ إِلَيَّ يَدِكَ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي مَا أَنَا بِبَاسِطٍ يَدِي إِلَيْكَ لِأَقْتُلَكَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. If you extend your hand to kill me, I'm not going to extend my hand towards you to kill you. Well, I fear Allah, the Lord of the worlds. I fear standing before God and having to answer for the blood of another human being. So go ahead and kill me. I'm not even going to defend myself. Because I fear God. And I'm confident that God has something better for me than what I have in this world anyway. Uthman, the same thing. Uthman, 10,000 Sahaba in Medina. They were all with Uthman, including Ali Bayt. Imam Ali was one of the last people to leave Uthman's house. Like we get the narrative developed over the centuries, like the Shiis and the Sunnis, they hate each other. And Uthman and Abu Sufyan and Hind, this was the conspiracy of Bani Umayyah to circumvent the Ummah and take over. And why was Imam Ali the last person to leave Uthman's house? And the last people guarding his door, Uthman said to send away Al-Hassan wal-Hussein. He sent them away. There were 10,000 Sahaba at least. They were all with Uthman. And there were 2,000 rebels from these various provinces, from Egypt and Yemen and these Iraq and these places, who descended on. They could have wiped them out. But Uthman said, Inni akhafullah, Rabb al-Alameen. I don't want to meet God with the blood of another human being on my hand. And so he took the advice of Allah subhanahu, of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Kun Abdullah al-Maqtul wa la takun Abdullah al-Qatil. Be the servant of Allah who's murdered. Don't be the servant of Allah who murders. And so Uthman, he died. They killed him. And he didn't defend himself because he was merciful. He was merciful to those rebels. And he understood, Allah will take care of me. Allah will sort this all out. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْصِلُ بَيْنَكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. And this is an ideal we should try to represent. Because everyone pursuing justice is destroying this world. Everyone's making their case. It's destroying this world. Starting with the Muslim world, torn apart. Well, everyone has a just cause, but no one wants to be merciful. I don't care if the babies suffer. I don't care if the women suffer. I don't care if the elderly suffer. I'm going to get my justice. I'm going to get mine. No, we have to look at mercy as much as we look at justice. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَكِنَّهَا رَحْمَةُ النَّاسِ رَحْمَةُ الْعَامَّةِ, is the mercy to everybody, to the generality of people. That's social mercy. Social mercy. So these are some things we should represent in the world. Otherwise, these ideals will perish. These are rooted in our religion. I'm not making this stuff up. As in Quran. إِن بَسَطْتَ إِلَيَّ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي. That's Quran. وَلَكِنَّهَا رَحْمَةُ الْعَامَّةِ. That's hadith. It's not just my opinion. And there's so much more. This mercy to children. You know, where's the mercy? We've gone, some of you are old enough. You won't admit it. I'll stop here. In my lifetime, we've gone from Leave It to Beaver. I mean, even reruns, YouTube. Anyone seeing? You saw Leave It to Beaver, right? Good morning, Mrs. Cleaver. Oh, hi, Eddie. You said, is Beaver here? Is Wally here? Oh, and Hazel. We've gone from Leave It to Beaver to Beavis and Butthead. And who's targeted by Beavis and Butthead? It's the children. Who would do that to children? We've gone from My Three Sons to The Simpsons. This is in my lifetime. Who would do that to children? An anarchist who wants to see all societal bonds dissipated, right? Matt Groening, The Simpsons, he's an avowed, professed anarchist. So this authoritarian family and this authoritarian society, we want to see it dissolved. All right, who takes over? Believe me, he's not going to be subordinate to anyone or people of his ilk. May Allah bless us. May Allah bless us to be advocates of family, wholesome living, social responsibility, which involves social hierarchies. All of you come from societies like Abla, Baji. These are social hierarchies that lets you know that, number one, yeah, you'll be an uncle one day. Just wait your turn and be patient and learn how to listen and respect your elders. And if you're arguing the opposite, then let's all just have this anarchic free-for-all. Let's just deconstruct all of those things that have given meaning to our lives, and we end up in this vacuum where people become so obsessed with finding meaning, because anything that could have conveyed meaning, we've just discarded, because a bunch of anarchists and a bunch of who knows what, occultists and Satanists have determined, we don't want those meanings. Well, human beings, that's one thing that makes us unique. We're creatures who seek meaning in our lives. And if it's not those meanings that are rooted in prophetic traditions, it's going to be another set of meanings that are rooted in something else. Believe me, it's not pleasant. Believe me, it's not pleasant. May Allah give us tawfiq. May Allah ta'ala help us. We're going to stop here. And I'll turn the mic over to Kareem. I call him Kareem the Dream, because it rhymes with Hakeem the Dream. But he's also a nice guy, so he deserves to be like a dream. So
appreciate it. I appreciate DJ IZ. Takbir. Allah. Takbir. Allah.